From the studios of Tucson Business RadioX, recorded in the Stewart Title corporate offices on Broadway, you are now listening to The Mark Bishop Show. And now here's your host, Mark Bishop.
And welcome to another Mark Bishop Show. Well, the launch of spring training has COVID-weary sports fans smiling. You know why? They're turning their attention to their favorite national pastime. So as baseball fans get ready to pick their dream teams, I've invited an outspoken fantasy sports radio frontman who provides colorful insight and cutting-edge tips for assembling a winning lineup. Yep, that's him, Jeff Manns, Elite Sports Betting Chief Content Officer and MLB Analyst. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate it.
Well, as SiriusXM's fantasy sports outspoken frontman, Jeff, and a 16-year veteran of the fantasy sports industry, a 19-time daily fantasy sports live final qualifier, and a 2-time daily fantasy live final winner, what say you? Another exciting season coming up?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm 162 games across Major League Baseball this year. You know, they had a lot of opportunities to cut the schedule down, to push it back, but looks like Major League Baseball is very confident and comfortable with their testing methods, with their contact tracing. They're going to allow fans in the stands. A lot of these ballparks, not full capacity, but you know, some fans in the stands will remind us that things are getting back to normal, which is pretty darn exciting.
Yeah, that's what we want. And I know you have some tips for my listeners, Jeff, but a little more about you, my friend. Winner of Fantasy Sports Writers Association's Radio Show of the Year. You've been published in books, newspapers, magazine publications, and also featured in a documentary film, Living the Fantasy. Was that fun?
Oh yeah, that was a blast. I mean, a little weird. They camera crew followed me around for about 6 months, on and off here and there, where they would go and film me watching the games and building lineups and doing my research. But they'd also kind of film the day-to-day stuff around the house. It's a pretty interesting look. I mean, they did a real good job with it for sure, but I won't be signing up for next season of the Kardashian show anytime soon here, Mark. Not my style.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit difficult looking over your shoulder all the time, isn't it? How confident are you, Jeff? How confident really are you in this Major League Baseball season feeling normal again?
I'm pretty confident. As I say, my confidence goes along with the league itself. And last year, you could tell they were hemming, they were hawing. They didn't know how many games they were going to play. They pushed it back. They moved it up. They didn't know what they were doing. This year, I feel a lot better. So, I am feeling pretty confident that we're going to see something similar to what we saw in 2019 and to the previous 100 years before that for Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, what about any major changes or, the fantasy game itself since the pandemic? Anything extremely different we have to look out for?
The fantasy game's changed a little bit because more people are playing. It was crazy that last year we saw a big influx of players once the season got going in July. A lot of people were looking for things to do. They weren't allowed to go to the games in person, so they kind of stumbled upon it and hopefully fell in love with the fantasy game. Whether it was betting on these games where it's legalized in 25 states across the United States, or playing a daily, a weekly, a monthly, or a half-season league, a lot of people realized that you could have a lot of fun and win life-changing money in the process.
Mm. Well, Jeffrey Manns, how many people participate in fantasy sports, and specifically fantasy baseball worldwide?
90 million people play some form of fantasy sports. A lot of that is football. The majority, though, I think there's about 80 million of those 90 million that play fantasy football. But 45 million people played fantasy baseball in one way, shape, or form. The daily game, daily fantasy baseball, has been just an explosion of people over the last 5 years. And that seems to be the place the biggest growth sector of the fantasy baseball industry.
So what's the easiest way to join or to start a league yourself?
Do social media. It can be our friend, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, places like that. Search the keywords fantasy baseball, stuff like that. Or if you want to head over to one of our sites, it's what we do for a living. EliteFantasy.com is the place to go. You can use the promo code SPRING, SPRING. That will get you a free week of our service over there. And within that week, you can stop by the chat room. We can customize the plan for you, a strategy, a league, where to play. We have over 35,000 users at EliteFantasy.com as well. And people are constantly building leagues. Every day there's a new league forming, and our users are just, helping each other out and forming new leagues and brackets and things like that. So, that's another very easy way to get started.
Okay. And listeners, that's www.elitesportsbetting.com. Now, Jeff, what teams are going to take us by surprise in 2021?
I think a surprise team nobody's talking about is the LA Angels. Everyone's talking about the Dodgers. Obviously, Dodgers have been great for a number of years. But on the other side of town in LA, you've got the best manager in the game in Joe Madden. You've got one of, if not the best player in baseball in Mike Trout. And they've been able to build around a lot of other quality players like Anthony Rendon, Justin Upton, Shohei Ohtani, who they paid a lot of money to bring him over from Japan a couple of years ago. And he's having a lights-out spring training. So I like this team a great deal. They finally figured out their pitching staff in L.A. With the Angels as well. And I look for this team to make waves. I think they win the AL Western Division, and they're a serious contender to win the World Series this year.
Well, that's a bold prediction, or two of them, in fact, for the 2021 baseball season. Jeff, do us a favor for my listeners. Give us one strategy that never fails in fantasy baseball.
Well, never fails. Don't pay for pitching. That's it. Starting pitchers, they're overrated. They have big names. They get big contracts in free agency. But in 2020, starting pitchers accumulated just 50% of all Major League Baseball innings pitched. So they're going to the bullpens a lot sooner, managers are. And these starters aren't lasting long at the ball game. So why are we paying premium price for players that are just not impacting barely half the game anymore? Don't do it. Pay up for hitters. Don't pay up for pitching. And the bottom line will be a lot better in the interim.
That sounds very logical. Thank you for that. What's your biggest fantasy baseball win so far?
Man, I've been very fortunate in my career. I have a number of signature wins. My favorite one, the best story at least, is I was able to qualify for a daily fantasy baseball live final. I won a contest. I got to fly out to Los Angeles back in 2015, and the event was hosted at the Playboy Mansion. And this was when Hef was still alive, and they still owned the property and all that. So 100 of us got together and played a daily fantasy baseball contest. I won that contest, beating 99 other participants, and I won $100,000 in the process. So that, life-changing money, of course, but the experience and all that is just something I'll never forget.
It'll be wonderful. So can somebody listening right now win life-changing money just by playing fantasy baseball, do you think? It's still possible, right?
Yeah. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me, I'm a dullard. It doesn't take that much. I tell you, we can help people out. EliteFantasy.com.
Okay.
We can use that promo code SPRING. It won't cost anybody anything. We can set you on the path. We can tell you what it will take, and then you can decide whether to use our service further or not. But we can point you in the right directions, whether you're playing a seasonal game, a daily game, or if you're looking to just make money when you want, which is betting on baseball at EliteSportsBetting.com. So just use that SPRING promo code.
Okay, and I'll put it up on my site and keep it there permanently for you. Now, in closing, Jeff, we've got to go.
I love it.
I'm told that you have a special offer for my listeners. True?
Yes. That's what it just was. EliteFantasy.com. That promo code SPRING, it's 100% free for an entire week. And with that, you get our customizable plan. We could set you up and put you on the path two winning,
Wow.
life-changing money possibly as well. So,
There you go.
yeah, I appreciate that very much, Mark. Thanks
Hey,
for doing
you
that.
got it, Jeff. And thank you. Listeners, jump onto that one, all right? www.elitesportsbetting.com. Free for a week. Lovely offer. Thank you. And that's compliments of Jeffrey Manns, and a very, very successful fellow. You know, he's been playing fantasy sports for over 30 years and is a 16-year veteran of the sports industry. And he's won a lot of stuff. And you can catch him, by the way, on Sirius XM, Fantasy Sports Radio. That's hosting a variety of live programs, including Elite Sports. And this is from 4 to 6 Eastern Time every weekday. Is that still on, Jeff? That's the same timing?
Absolutely, Mark. Yep.
Okay, so we're in the West, so, Arizona, so we're 3 hours, so we, don't want to get it screwed up there. Hey, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, mate, and good luck for the year, okay?
Back at you, Mark. Appreciate the time.
You got it. Thank you. Goodbye now.